So you're going to want to get the SportsGrid app on iOS or Android in the Play Store. It's free. It's incredible. You're going to love it. It's got the TV side on there. The radio side's on there. In-game odds. You can follow your favorite hosts like Carver High. The SportsGrid app. Get it today. You won't be disappointed. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Hey, did you know we're streaming on X? Yeah, this very second and always. Yeah, SportsGrid's on X at SportsGrid-Live. Hey, the both podcasts of Coast to Coast and Ferrall and a Bench are available Monday through Friday on Apple iTunes or wherever you download podcasts. You can get both shows every day of the work week. And let's take a look at the lineup tonight on SportsGrid TV and SportsGrid Radio. On the TV side, Front Office Sports today at 6 after this show, 6 Eastern. Game time decisions at 6:30 with the mayor of Miami, Joe Ranieri. And then at 8, it's in-game live with Scott Wetzel and Spittin' Speed's Dane Martinez. At 10, it's Sports Rage with Morency. And then on SportsGrid Radio at 8, it's The Institution, Carver and Lisi. All of that tonight on SportsGrid TV and SportsGrid Radio. We get into hour 2 here, and we're still finishing off the baseball slate for tonight around the show.
We are. Just to give you an update on the golf, it looks like that the +2s are going to be out of luck. That's because Matty Schmid parred 18, so he stayed at +1. And the other guy who was on the line was that Riki Kawamoto. He birdied 16, Scotty. So he went from +1 to even. So he would have to find either two bogeys or a double bogey in these last 2 holes. Looking like they're going to come up one short, the +2s, of making it to the weekend, the way things are going. And that is you lose. And double off the Ivy for Ian Happ here in the bottom of the 6th inning for the Cubs, as they now have a man on second and 1 out against the Red Sox, who are making a pitching change. All right, Minnesota's in Colorado this weekend. Chris Paddock against Kyle Freeland. Twins minus $165, +140 for the Rockies, and an 11.5.
I mean, honestly, Paddock is so awful. He's just so awful. I can't help it. I got to take, you won't believe this, Colorado +140 at Coors.
Wow.
Because Paddock is their worst pitcher. His ERA is through the roof. His record stinks. He's as bad as Freeland. They're both awful. It's bound to happen. Tonight's the night. Rockies win.
And I'm going after him, too, in a little bit. I'm going after Paddock tonight in Colorado.
He's a bum.
Cardinals and Arizona in the desert. Andre Pallant against Brandon Pfaadt. -130 for the Snakes, +115 Cardinals, and an 8.5.
You know, the funny thing is that I want to take the Cardinals, but this guy Pfaadt, he's the luckiest guy in town. Every time he pitches, he wins. I mean, they win when he pitches. And meanwhile, they have all these high-priced guys. Burns, season over, gallon of milk, they're going to trade him. Pfaadt, I mean, his ERA is over 5, but he wins. He's 9-6. He's already got 9 wins. He'll get his 10th tonight. Give me the Snakes -$130.
Big series for Seattle at home here this weekend. They have the Astros coming into town. Of course, they're chasing them in the AL West. Louis Castillo and Brandon Walter. Mariners -135, +115 for the Stros, and a 7.5.
I mean, this is enormous. So I'm going to take Castillo in a big game in T-Mobile, in Seattle. I don't mind the -$136, and I think they can get to Walter, actually, who hasn't been that bad. Walter's ERA is pretty impressive, but of all the pitchers on that staff, I think they got a shot at him.
And finally, the Brewers, of course, went into the All-Star break with a 7-game winning streak. They will try to continue that in Los Angeles. That's Chavez Ravine against the Dodgers. Quinn Priester and Tyler Glasnow tonight. -190 for the Dodgers, +160 for the Brewers, and an 8.5.
Yeah, I can't believe that because I bet the Brewers this morning at +$157, and I'll tell you why. He's Priester 6-0 with a 2.7 ERA over his last 9 starts, and Glasnow's pitched once and he did okay, but he hasn't pitched forever, right? And then he pitches once, and now I'm supposed to pay that price for this guy tonight? Are you kidding me? And then I think it's even worse. Like, I think he's pitched against them. He's 0-2 with a 5.2 ERA against the Brewers in his career. The Brewers have been hot. Priester's been hot. They've been playing great baseball. I took a shot with the Brewers tonight at Dodger Stadium at plus 157.
Wow, how about that? I'm going to take a shot with the Brewers as well tonight in the long balls. I am so glad that we have these back. It was a long 4 days. No
brutal.
taters, no long balls, no big flies, and now finally
Brutal.
we are back in the mix tonight on a Friday night, which we love. Friday night big fly. Let's do it, baby. The home run picks are back. Tater time. I'm playing the narrative here, Scotty. Mike Trout in Philadelphia. Plus 330 against Luzardo. He's given up some homers the last few times out. I'm going to try it for Trout. Give all the Philly fans, get him excited, and think that one day he'll put their uniform on. I told you I would go after Paddock. Forget the cognac. Get me the Moniac at Coors Field tonight. Plus 420 for
Love
Mickey against Paddock. The Wood Doctor with Dylan Cease in town. Plus 440. Good price for him. I'm going after Taj Bradley, too. Gunnar Henderson, plus 450 down in Tampa at the small ballpark. And I said, Brewers, look at this number for Christian Yelich, Scotty. Plus 630 at Chavez Ravine tonight. Let's go. This guy loves Fridays. He's cashed for so much on Friday nights. We had to put Yelich on the card. Trout, Moniac, Wood Doctor, Gunnar, and Yelich. Friday night, good to have the long balls back.
I love it. And the Cubs just added a run. It's 4-1 now, Cubbies over the Red Sox at Wrigley.
Going to be a real shame to see that Red Sox 10-game winning streak end. We're really upset.
It's going to ruin my weekend.
Really going to bust me up to have to see that. That's for sure. All right, there you go. Baseball, and we are in the mix and ready to roll. How about the NBA now? I got a lot. Well, we're going to go to break. So after you talk to Dane, I will rip through all the Summer League stuff from last night. I will let you know who's playing for the title this weekend. 2 semis on Saturday, and, of course, the winners will play for the championship on Sunday. And I'll give you all the numbers for tonight's games.
So you know who's in those semifinal games already?
I do know, because they're done with the regular games. So they have decided on, the best records. They had to do some tiebreakers to knock out a few of those undefeated 4-0 teams. But we do have the teams that are going to be playing for it this weekend. So I will give you all of that information after you talk to Dana and get the Summer League.
The Kings Raptors and the Hornets Thunder are your 2 semifinals. And then they call the Knicks Wizards a consolation game. Rockets Timberwolves a consolation game. Everything else a consolation game. How about the T-Wolves? They're 4-0 and they're not in it.
Yep, they lost, I guess, the tiebreaker, whatever that was. They lost the tiebreaker to get in. So Summer League math.
So it's Kings, Raptors, both 4-0, and Hornets, Thunder, both 4-0. Can you imagine if the Thunder win the NBA championship and then their Summer League team goes and wins the Summer League? I won't be surprised at all.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
They're still trying to throw Dalton Knecht's name in trades, and I don't even know if he's viewed as a positive asset still.
And that's a crazy thing. Dalton Knecht, if you look at FanDuel, Dalton Knecht 20-plus points at plus 120. he's giving you no indication that he's that right there. I mean, Kevin, I would be more likely if we knew we were going to get the minutes. Bronny James, 10-plus points at plus 118.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, Houston beat the snot out of the Dodgers, 18-1. And this is what happens here. Oral Hershiser doing the game for the Dodgers brings up the cheating scandal, going, oh, they must know the science because they're hitting curveballs that they know it's coming. It's like, oh boy, did you really want to go down that rabbit hole again here? I think this is one of those nights where they got destroyed. Yeah, hey, it happens in baseball here. But just found that an interesting comment by Oral Hershiser. Start bringing up the cheating scandal again.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Dude, you have a head coach in Jim Harbaugh that's proven he will cheat to win. He will win at the biggest stage and doesn't give a damn who cares or finds out, and he'll just move on. That's what I love about a coach. That's the type of coach that I want. Win at all costs. Now, also, at all costs means, like, how are we building this team? Because I actually thought Harbaugh would come in and say, okay, let me just see what the players on the roster is. We'll weed them out after a year, but there's a lot of talent. He built that foundation last year and still made the playoffs.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Piece of an interesting couple of weeks in California, if you recall, just I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino. There is no legal online sports betting.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
My dude is back on C2C, spitting speeds. He'll be on In-Game Live tonight with Scott Wetzel at 8 o'clock Eastern. Hopefully I got that right. And, I saw you, Dane, talking about Justin Fields and the, Jets. And, it's interesting because, we saw this guy in Pittsburgh play, and I would have preferred actually that guy playing, to be honest with you, in the playoffs. They went with Russell Wilson every game in December, and it just got worse by the week. Like from the beginning of December until when they won, they actually won at Cincinnati, and then they lost every game. They lost 5 straight. They lost the playoff game against the Ravens. They got their ass beat on Christmas by Kansas City. They lost on January 5th to the Bengals and got whacked. That was in Pittsburgh. I was at the game. And then I was sitting at the game. I'm like, I can't take any more of this guy. He's so awful. Give me Fields in that playoff game. And then, sure enough, both of them are gone. Wilson's with the Giants. Fields is with the Jets. How do you think Fields will do with the Jets? I liked him. He was 4-2 with the Steelers. And then I just don't think Tomlin liked him.
Yeah, listen, I'm really excited about Justin Fields with the Jets, right? First of all, he brings that dual threat that really all the great teams have right now, whether it's Lamar, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. You need that dual threat ability from the quarterback position, the ability to run, and he really is second to none with being able to run, right? You saw it in Pittsburgh, Scotty. He went 4-2. He took care of the ball. He only had 2 turnovers in those 6 games, and quite frankly, now with the Jets, he's going to have a better offensive line than he has had in a long time, especially since when he was in Chicago. He's going to have his boy who just got the bag, Garrett Wilson, who was his number 1 wide receiver at Ohio State. And what I think is important, Scott, you talked about it. This organization, unlike Pittsburgh, unlike Chicago, believes in him. They didn't draft a quarterback. They didn't sign a quarterback. They're giving him the keys to the car. And there have been a number of examples, I think, over the last few years of quarterbacks in a second act with an organization that does believe in them. Baker Mayfield winning division titles. Jared Goff going to NFC championship games and winning division titles. And I think Justin Fields can do that. And quite frankly, they are above average on the offensive line, at the running back position, on defense. If you believe Justin Fields can take a step forward, there is reason to believe that the Jets could really turn this around under Aaron Glenn, similar to what we saw Dan Campbell do in Detroit.
He's a great athlete, and I never thought Russell Wilson was anything more than an older, washed quarterback. He
Right.
was as slow as a mule in the pocket. He got sacked every time he dropped back. If he had to run, he was dead meat. That didn't happen with Justin Fields. I think it's going to be exciting. Were you shocked at the money that they gave Wilson and Sauce?
So, no, not for Sauce. I mean, by all accounts, he is the number one cover cornerback in the NFL. All the PFF grades, the forced incompletions, the yards per coverage snap. I thought it was interesting that he went literally $0.1 million above Derek Stingley, who signed earlier in the offseason. Garrett Wilson, it averages out to, I think, $32.5 million, and that puts him, I think, 5th or 6th in wide receivers. I think Garrett Wilson has been under-respected as an alpha wide receiver. I mean, the man has had great stats in his first 3 years, and he's been doing it with Zach Wilson and Mike White and Tim Boyle throwing him the ball, for goodness sakes. They needed to keep him happy. They got his quarterback, Justin Fields, coming through, and you can take Aaron Rodgers, Scotty. The circus comes to town for your boys.
Yeah, listen, I have no choice, Dane, but to root for him. Any way you slice it, he's better than Russell Wilson. I still believe that firmly. So there's a lot of talent around him. They added Jonnu Smith. They got him and Ramsey in that deal with the Dolphins. Do you think that they'll win with Rodgers? People think they're going to stink. It was at 7.5, then 8.5. This guy Tomlin always wins. Since 2000, the Patriots and Steelers the best record in the NFL in regular season games. Last year they had 10 wins by December, and they got into the playoffs, and they were one and done again. I see the same thing again, winning and then losing in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they'll be at around the same level, to your point. They always do that. I give Tomlin some credit, although maybe the message is starting to get stale. Not any fault of Tomlin. It just happens after a decade plus, right? But what I think the issue is, Scotty, and you know this better than most, is you have Arthur Smith there, calling plays, coordinating the offense. That's supposed to be a run-heavy thing. That's why he got Jonnu Smith. He loves Jonnu Smith. I'll give you that. Aaron Rodgers is going to want to sling the rock, though. So I do still think there is something of a mismatch between Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers that they have to figure out in Pittsburgh. But ultimately, despite the fact that Pittsburgh is in the best division in football, and I still think Baltimore is the class of that division, I can understand the Steelers finishing right around 500, just like Tomlin always does.
What other teams are you high on as all these training camps have opened or opening next week? Teams this year that you believe in that you think are going to do well in the NFL?
Yeah, so I think someone that is not the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the AFC West. And I think it's either going to be Denver or the Chargers. I'm high on both Denver and the Chargers. I think they were right there last year. I think the Chiefs won a lot of games by the hair of their chinny chin chin, and that luck regression can come to pass. We already see now Rashee Rice is down. Travis Kelce is washed, didn't even know if he wanted to play. I think there is some regression for the Chiefs. I'd be interested to see the Chargers and or the Broncos take that step forward and actually leapfrog them. That's part of why I have Omarion Hampton as the Rookie of the Year, even over Ashton Genty, because I think he will be on a winning team. And that's why I got Aaron Glenn winning the Coach of the Year, because I believe in the turnaround for the Jets.
Listen, I think that Hampton play of yours is really smart because I think the Raiders stink, and people think that this Jenny's just going to be a rock star from the jump on a lousy team. It always hurts when you got lousy players around.
Right.
You. And the reality is I'm not buying that team, and I'm not buying old man Pete Carroll in Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to be down in games where they're not going to be able to just hand the rock to Genty. Meanwhile, you know the Chargers' identity. They're going to want to run the ball. And Hampton is really good. People forget about this. 12-1 to be the Roy.
Yeah, and they already were a playoff team. They lost to the Texans, but I think Jim Harbaugh is going to get even better every year he's in L.A. Dane, great stuff. Good to see you. Have a great show tonight.
there's a possibility that we could be looking at DeBoer wondering if he's the long-term answer at coach for the Tide?
I'm starting to feel like Alabama, I can't believe I'm saying this, Craig, is a sleeper. Fourth easiest schedule in the SEC this year. Ryan Williams is back. I think the friendly, these early season games against Florida State and Wisconsin, that is friendly for Alabama.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Paige Beckers, ready folks, is a top 10 WNBA player right now. You ever heard of the band Gladys Knight and the Pips? Yeah, it's Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings. That's what she's got. You know what that means? She's got nobody. Enrique Wumwale has been awful this year. I don't know if she wants to play there or not.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Her ability to defend, shoot the three, rebound, pass the ball, and on a team that is awful. Awful. Right now, trending to get the #1 overall pick if they win the WNBA lottery. Possibly to draft her buddy AZ Fudd. Maybe. But when you look at Paige Beckers is a top 10 player in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Obviously, he didn't do great in the last two majors, and we're going home here. We're going to Northern Ireland, Royal Portage. This is Rory's the reason why we're going here. Got off to a rough start, throwing his tee shot out of bounds back in 2019. I think he'll be ready. Not yet ready to call him the winner. I still have a couple of days before I do that, but it is a home game for him. And as you saw, based on this weekend, he is playing well.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
All right, so let's talk about some of these summer league games that went down, Mike.
Yeah, let's do that, of course, as they're wrapping up this weekend. Final few games of the Summer League. Nuggets beat the Clippers last night, 81-76. De'Ron Holmes, 19 points and 17 boards. That's doing the grunt work right there. 17 boards off the glass. Your boy De'Ron getting involved last night for Denver.
I mean, come on.
Raptors,
17 rebounds. I wouldn't even leave the house.
That's a big effort on the glass. Raptors beat the Warriors 81-69. Colin Murray Boyles, 20 points, 9 boards, 2 dimes, 4 steals. Filling up the stat sheet for Toronto, who, as we said before, is going to play for the title.
They're going to play.
Excellent.
I like that guy. I like props on him in that game tomorrow.
Celtics beat the Lakers 87-78. Bronny, 18 points, 5 dimes, and 3 boards. Jordan Walsh for the Celtics had 17-6 and 2 steals. Bronny getting involved last night for the Lakers.
So he still had the loss, so you lose. Doesn't matter what you
lose.
do.
That is how it goes. If you lose, you lose. Nobody cares. Portland beat the Rockets 102-83. Hornets beat the Spurs 106-81. Kneppel had 19 points, 6 dimes, 5 boards, 3 threes. He's another guy who's filled it up in this summer league. Kneppel. He's been unbelievable.
In front of him tomorrow in that semifinal?
Probably not. I wouldn't want to. He's been real good. He got a chance to win the most outstanding player. That Jones Garcia, the guy on the Spurs. They lost. They're not playing for the championship now. Lost to the Spurs. So I'd have to imagine you got to give it to someone who at least makes the championship game, right? For the most outstanding player.
Right.
Hawks beat the Grizz 92-88. But the Hawks were the other team, Scotty, with Minnesota, who went 4-0, but I guess lost all the tiebreakers to get themselves into the weekend. Pacers beat the Knicks 91-88. Cam Jones with 21 and 11 dimes for Indiana. Pistons beat the Heat by 20. Bobby Klintman, 20 points, 4 boards, and 2 steals for Detroit. Your boy Bobby getting involved.
Bobby Klintman, who the hell is that? I have no idea. 20 points, 4 boards, 2 steals for the Pistons. Let's go.
That's a big game there. And I mentioned the semis. I actually do have a couple numbers for you on the semifinals for tomorrow.
I have the numbers.
Yeah, 2.5 for the Raptors in the first game, which is 4 o'clock East on ESPN Saturday. And then Thunder minus 1.5 against the Hornets. That's at 6 o'clock East. Both of those are at the Thomas and Mack.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna lean Raptors and Thunder, and I'm gonna lay it in both, and I think they're gonna be the championship game on Sunday.
So you're going to take, it sounds like Thunder to do the double, the NBA title and the Summer League title?
Yes, I'm going
full
for the
sweep.
It's their year in everything. Not only the championship, but the fact that they signed all their star players, just around $850 million for all three of them, and then they go out and they had a good draft again. And then they go out and they're going to win the Summer League. I think they'll win the whole thing on Sunday.
Wow. How about that? Here's the rest of tonight's games. Of course, these teams are just playing their last game and getting out of town. Consolation games. Everybody gets to play 5. The Sixers and the Nets will be just after 6 o'clock, right about 6 this evening. Philly minus 1.5. Heat and the Bucks at 7 o'clock East. Bucks minus 5.5. That's up to now. 5.5 for the Bucks.
It's up to 5.5 from 3.5 because I'll tell you what, the Heat have already packed it in. Did you see them last night? They just quit.
Yeah, quit. I mean, both these teams 1-3 so far in the Summer League. And for the other three, the Jazz and the Bulls, 8 o'clock East. Utah now minus 2.5, which we have there.
I'll take the point. I like the Bulls, and they went 2-2. I gave you the Jazz to win last night. They finally won.
Pelicans haven't won a game. They're 0-4, but they are 4.5-point favorites against the Pacers tonight. And the Lakers minus 3.5 against the Nuggets is the other late night game.
How is that possible that they're favored and they haven't sniffed a win, but they're favored by 4.5? It's got to be the Pelicans because it smells so fishy. It's got to be them. You got to take the Pelicans tonight because why would they be favored over a team that's won a couple games?
There's a possibility that we could be looking at DeBoer wondering if he's the long-term answer at coach for the Tide?
I'm starting to feel like Alabama, I can't believe I'm saying this, Craig, is a sleeper. 4th easiest schedule in the SEC this year. Ryan Williams is back. I think the friendly, these early season games against Florida State and Wisconsin, that is friendly for Alabama.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Paige Beckers, ready folks, is a top 10 WNBA player right now. You ever heard of the band Gladys Knight and the Pips? Yeah, it's Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings. That's what she's got. You know what that means? She's got nobody. Enrique Wumwale has been awful this year. I don't know if she wants to play there or not.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Her ability to defend, shoot the 3, rebound, pass the ball, and on a team that is awful. Awful. Right now, training to get the number 1 overall pick if they win the WNBA lottery. Possibly to draft her buddy AZ Fudd. Maybe. But when you look at Paige Beckers is a top 10 player in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Obviously, he didn't do great in the last 2 majors, and we're going home here. We're going to Northern Ireland. Royal Portish. This is Rory's the reason why we're going here. Got off to a rough start, throwing his tee shot out of bounds back in 2019. I think he'll be ready. Not yet ready to call him the winner. I still have a couple of days before I do that, but it is a home game for him. And as you saw, based on this weekend, he is playing well.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
game is Denver and LA. I'll take LA. I think they're laying 3.5 tonight against the Nuggets. All right. Did you like that lineup with Dame Time in Rip City?
Yeah, Dame Time. You'll put him with Drew Holiday, Sharp, Denny Avdija, Klingon, Scoot Henderson, Kamara, Jeremy Grant, the big tariff. That playoff team? Now remember, Dame ain't even going to play this year. Is that like a fringe playoff team in Portland now?
What they need to do this year is get better with Holiday running that show. And then next year, a year from now, we're going to have this conversation when Holiday and Dame Time are playing together. But he's going to be coming off an Achilles and he's going to be 36 or whatever. I still think they'll be better with both of them than they will without him. So I think the team will actually get better this year. They were average this year, but they're going to get better. And then I think they'll be significantly better when they have Holiday and Dame playing together.
I know that you have a lot of these subscriptions. You know that I do too. One of them is going to be going up because they're getting the NBA. Peacock going up $3 a month with the NBA coming to NBC. So get yourself ready.
I'd imagine that won't be the last time they raise their rates. They're going to just keep shafting people. When they get ratings, it'll go even higher.
They probably will. I think we've had shoes almost every day this week. We had the Cookie Monsters. We had the Kobe Moonwalkers. So now we got these are Cade. They're going to be selling these Cade rocks. Is that what they're doing here? These Cade shoes. Look at those.
These are player edition shoes as well from Nike. I mean, these are badass shoes. Those are almost a lot like, I think they're a lot like the Kobe's that we were showing you, the Pro Tros. All I know is I like these on top of the Cookie Monsters and the ones I showed you yesterday. Those purple ones yesterday from Kobe were badass. These are badass. Cunningham shoes, I like them a lot. I can get my hands on these.
Yeah, we should. There you go. There's your NBA for us, Scotty. And I think we have to start college football. Now, there's a reason why I want you to bring in Rich first, Scotty, and that's because we're going to talk about a guy on the hot seat, and it sounds like, if you tell me, it sounds like that Rich is going to be talking about guys on the hot seat.
All right, so let's throw it to our boy Rich Sermonello.
Hey, Scott, it's hot everywhere. I want to keep the hot theme today and talk about hot seat coaches in college football for 2025. Got a short list, going to see if we can reel through them. Number one for me, the coach facing the most pressure, not just pressure, but pressure to win or else, is Brent Venables from Oklahoma. 3 seasons with the Sooners. 2 of those years he went 6-7, including last year. Very disappointing. The transition so far to the SEC, unlike Texas, has not gone well. Now, he's done a good job with the defense. That is his forte. Offense has faced injuries last year, wiped out at wide receiver. They're all in this year, Scott. They got the quarterback, John Mateer from Washington State, stayed out west to get Jaden Ott, the running back. They looked like they're primed for a bounce-back season. If not, that could be the end of the line for Brent Venables at Oklahoma. Now, number 2 for me, he's only been there for 3 years. It's Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Been a big disappointment so far, has struggled against SEC opponents, just 5-11. The recruiting has really become a problem lately. If you follow Hugh Freeze on social media, he's getting a lot of heat for spending, of all things, too much time on golf courses, as his 2026 recruiting class is quickly degrading. Auburn has a history with its boosters of taking care of massive buyouts, $68 million in buyouts since 2000. Hugh Freeze, by the way, versus Brent Venables, September 27th in a critical game for both of those programs and coaches. Now let's keep it in Oklahoma. Mike Gundy coming off a 3-9 season last year, 0-9 in the Big 12. He's been there for 2 decades, former quarterback in Stillwater. He's an institution with that program, Scott, but he had to restructure his contract in the offseason to stay for 2025. This is getting a little bit dicey. I've always been a big fan of Gundy. I think he's been an overachiever. He's done a great job with a program that lived in the shadow of Oklahoma. But if they are even close to 3-9, if they're under 500, I think that could be it for Mike Gundy with the Cowboys. We haven't talked about Lincoln Riley. I understand he's facing a lot of pressure after 3 seasons. I think he survives, barring a complete collapse. I think even if USC doesn't perform in the Big Ten, I think Lincoln Riley comes back, but a ton of pressure. There are coaches out there like James Franklin, Lincoln Riley, Brian Kelly, Sharon Moore at Michigan, facing pressure, but not necessarily hot seat pressure. We took a negative approach today, Scott. Next week, let's talk about the coaches, coordinators, young head coaches at smaller programs that could be bucking for promotions in 2026.
Rich, great stuff, my man. I'm getting excited for college football. Every week we get closer and closer. Have a great weekend, Rich. All right, so, every one of those guys that he talked about, I thought, would Saban take the job? And I got to be honest with you, I don't see Nick Saban at Auburn. I really don't. He was at Alabama for so long. I can't see him sticking a knife in their back by going to their rival. I really don't see that. And then I don't see him in Stillwater. I could see him in Los Angeles, believe it or not, at USC. But they'd have to fire Lincoln Riley, and I think that's possible. The one that I said yesterday, I think still holds water, is Arkansas. The money they spend on Calipari, they would spend that on this guy Saban in 5 seconds, I think, and they would have 2 of the greatest coaches ever in their basketball and football programs. And I don't believe Pittman's long for this world at Arkansas.
Yeah, he's definitely on the list with those guys that Rich was talking about. This is probably a year where Sam Pittman's got to bring it up a notch and get the Razorbacks into the, let's just say the 8-9, 10-win territory. I got a couple from Sam. Here he is first talking about, once again, being on the hot seat going into this season.
Let me say this. The only ramifications of someone constantly having you on this list or whatever other list is recruiting. That's the only thing. And it seems to affect us a little bit more in the state of Arkansas because they're up on the Razorbacks, they see more. Now, how can we stop that? We win more games. That's what we can do. Look, most everything a guy brings on, he brings on himself. Most things that come out, you earn it. Now, you may disagree with some of it and all that, but I've earned that. I have. To get off of that, we've got to win more games.
Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles, Mike. He hasn't won at Arkansas. That's just all there is to it. Let's stop with all this stuff. That guy's, he's on fire already.
Well, when we come back, I'll play you the other one because it's we won't get it in time. But he's going to tell you that he is going to win this year because of how the NIL is set up. He says that it is time that Arkansas is going to turn it around and get it done. So we'll hear the rest of Pittman, and we'll hear from a few other guys in the SEC when we come back. It's 4-1 Cubs right now, Scotty, as we play.
Me that there's not a guy sitting in Fayetteville that has juice in that athletic department or boosters that aren't sitting around talking about, since the conversation has changed and the winds are blowing about Nick Saban. You can't tell me there's somebody in Fayetteville that hasn't said, well, we already got Calipari, let's go get Saban. And then you don't have any problems at all. Let's face facts. Nick Saban goes to Arkansas, they're going to win. That'll be that.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money on hoops. So I'm sure they've got some money that they could spend on the football program as well.
Their
you never know.
Football program is garbage.
There's a possibility that we could be looking at DeBoer wondering if he's the long-term answer at coach for the Tide?
I'm starting to feel like Alabama, I can't believe I'm saying this, Craig, is a sleeper. 4th easiest schedule in the SEC this year. Ryan Williams is back. I think the friendly, these early season games against Florida State and Wisconsin, that is friendly for Alabama.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Paige Beckers, ready folks, is a top 10 WNBA player right now. You ever heard of the band Gladys Knight and the Pips? Yeah, it's Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings. That's what she's got. You know what that means? She's got nobody. Enrique Wumwale has been awful this year. I don't know if she wants to play there or not.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Her ability to defend, shoot the three, rebound, pass the ball, and on a team that is awful. Awful. Right now, training to get the number 1 overall pick if they win the WNBA lottery. Possibly to draft her buddy AZ Fudd. Maybe. But when you look at Paige Beckers is a top 10 player in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Obviously, he didn't do great in the last 2 majors, and we're going home here. We're going to Northern Ireland, Royal Portage. This is Rory's the reason why we're going here. Got off to a rough start, throwing his tee shot out of bounds back in 2019. I think he'll be ready. Not yet ready to call him the winner. I still have a couple of days before I do that, but it is a home game for him. And as you saw, based on this weekend, he is playing well.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
So let's hear from Pittman now on how he thinks they're going to win in Fayetteville.
Yes, let's roll out Sam here. Because remember that deal that started July 1st now allegedly caps how much you're allowed to spend. He says it was unfair before, but it'll be fair now.
Financially, with revenue sharing, I think now we're back on even keel with everybody, which we weren't. You just read that off. When we were even, we went from 4-20 to top 20 in 2 years. And so I think the program has a chance to get back up to around those 9+ wins than where we were before, just simply because we have the finances to back that. We've got a good football team. We've got a good staff. We've got great facilities, and we got a great state of fans at the University of Arkansas and the state of Arkansas. There's no reason we can't do it. If I was going to make an excuse, it would be financially is why we haven't done quite as well as where we were projected my first 2 years. But I think now, with it being even, look out, the Razorbacks are coming on.
Okay.
Look out.
Look out. So that's great and all of that wonderfulness. But then he never does it. So I would keep an eye on that job, and I can never get enough of this now. It's like 3 days in a row. I can't get enough of it. So I would say that job, and I would say I don't believe for 1 minute he would go to Auburn, because it would be like beneath him to go to Auburn after being at Alabama. But I think that he would do Florida State, and I think Florida State, because all they've done is complain about the ACC and everything else. I think the ACC's credibility would go through the roof if he went there. And then they'd have big chest, they'd have Belichick, they'd have Saban, and let's face facts. I think the ACC gets a really bad rap in football. In basketball, it's God's gift to the sport, right? But in football, they say they're trash. I don't believe that. I know they didn't have a great year last year, but I don't believe that it's a bad conference in basketball or football ever. And I think that if he went there, they'd actually win. And I think the situation is basketball. Look at the teams that they have in that conference. Like Miami can't win in Atlanta against Georgia Tech. Miami couldn't even win it at Syracuse against the Orange on the road. I think it's a lot harder than people think it is. I could see Saban there. I've said that the last couple of days. I could even, I'm not sure if I actually truly believe he would live in Los Angeles and coach USC. I'm not. He seems like he was at LSU, at Alabama. He lives down there in Tuscaloosa, right? He lives on that lake. So he's like a Southern boy, right? Like I don't see him being that Hollywood type. You tell me, Mike.
I don't think he's a Hollywood type in LA. That doesn't seem like a good fit for him. Joey Prawns told me last night that he thinks that Miami would knock off Big Chest for him. That if he really was seriously available, that he thinks that Miami would go after Saban. So I don't know about that.
Listen,
he was in Miami. He probably liked being there, despite not winning in the NFL. He probably loved living in Miami.
Now look, he failed miserably with the Dolphins, but if they got him at Miami, I think they'd win a national championship number 6. They can't win with this guy they got. He's already proven to me that he can win 9 games. That's it. Like I mean, I have nightmares. I literally have nightmares about the Georgia Tech and Syracuse games. But then again, I did hit the Syracuse game in a big way. That ticket I cashed. I knew they would beat Miami, and they did. And then I cashed again in the bowl game that they lost. All they do is lose big games. That's it. And I've been the biggest Kane fan for 55 years. So don't tell me. And I'm telling you, if they got him, look what they did when they had Jimmy Johnson and Howard Schnellenberger and Dennis Erickson. They won titles. Don't tell me Nick Saban wouldn't win a title in Miami. And with the money that they spend on football, and that guy is the coach, here's the difference between him and Big Chest. Big Chest is decent at best, and Nick Saban's the greatest coach that maybe ever lived.
Big difference when you talk about those two. Arkansas's win totals is 5.5, and you talk about winning 9 games. Their schedule is, I know I've been doing this with a lot of these SEC teams. Not only do they have in conference at Tennessee, Texas A&M, at LSU, at Texas, Missouri at home, they play Notre Dame out of conference too. They have Notre Dame in and out of conference game. That's a tough,
they should
tough road
fire him
for
right
Sam.
now. The fact that their win total is 5.5 in Vegas is all you need to know that they still stink. They've never mattered, and this guy should not be the coach at Arkansas. Even Calipari's probably going like, they got to clean this up. They got to clean this up because they don't have a great football program. I agree with him when he says they have the money now and the fans and the state and all that type of support. Big stadium. That's a tough place to play in Fayetteville. But at the end of the day, they're just not that good. And I'm telling you, if Saban got his hands on that program, they'd win there too.
They probably would. All right, I've got a couple other guys for you that we're going to squeeze in before the end of the hour. And look, I know you love all this stuff. Next week, I've got double dose. Next week, I've got double dose for you because the Big Ten and the ACC are next week. They're both going next week. So we'll have a lot of coaches next week with 2 conferences being thrown into the mix for their media week's talking season.
I love both
in college football.
I like the Canes and I like the Big Ten. The Big Ten's my favorite. I love Big Ten football and basketball. That's just all there is to it. And I respect the SEC fully. I'm not stupid. But I don't like I really don't like the angle on the ACC that they suck in football. I just don't believe that. You know what I mean? I'll never buy that.
I say, you crank that Soldier Boy, right? You Darvish back on the mound. Haven't seen this guy in a minute. Yeah, man, crank it, man. Get it going up. Get the high. Yeah, let's go. Crank that Soldier Boy up here. Yep. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. That was big back then. Where were you? Senior high school? Or maybe even in grade school?
Dude. Bar mitzvah slate. In the bar mitzvah slate each and every weekend. The young Benny Steve was out there hitting it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Do they practice in a public park? And Ferrall and Lodge said, no, they have a little facility, but it's open to the public. No, it's a public park. Like, it basically, like, there's like kids play basketball, like, yeah, no, it's bad. I looked, I'm like, dear God, like, I thought, I'm like, man, I bet a lot of money on these guys. I can't believe this is where they practice. Like, yeah.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Scrounge out a couple of quarters from under the couch to go trade for somebody who actually makes some money. I don't think that he would actually do that. That's not in Hal's style the last couple of years, especially in season. I saw they signed that Heimer Candelario, who the Reds released. That's more their style, going the discount aisle as opposed to trading for someone who's actually having a huge year like Suarez.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I would be looking to get him in dynasty or keeper leagues. If I'm out of a league and I'm looking to rebuild for the next years ahead, that's where I'm looking. Yuri Perez is a special young pitcher that we're going to be talking about in that Paul Skeens, in that Tariq Skubal, in that grouping of guys. I think he can be that good. He's only 22 years old. It's the boy. So you're getting a situation here where Yuri Perez eventually is going to grow into that man of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Ferrall has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast.
Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money.
It's Ferrall. Coast to coast.
All right, let's talk about Kentucky football now, Mike.
Yeah, a little bit of a down year last year for Kentucky, but did you know, Scotty, that Mark Stoops is now the longest tenured head coach in the SEC after Saban leaving last year? This will be his 13th season as the man with the Wildcats. And to be fair, I know it's Kentucky, it's a basketball school. Probably the best job anyone's ever done in terms of football at Kentucky is the job that he's done there. Here he is talking about now having that distinguishment.
When you have a down year, you have to stand up here, you have to own it, you have to face it, talk about the things you're doing to address it, and then move on. I've stood up here after, 2 10-win seasons. That's only happened 2 times in the history of our school, and I don't really want to talk about that year. I want to talk about this year. So there's a fine balance there. So for me, it's just exciting, as I mentioned to your colleague there to your right there. But it's really just excited about the opportunity. Really diving into the challenge that lies ahead of us and embracing that and having fun with it, because this it's hard, and you might as well go enjoy it and dive into it. And there's a lot of people that can't do it and didn't do it for 12 years and didn't do it for 13 years, and not at Kentucky. You look at the history of what we've done, and there's a lot of great ones that didn't make it very long. And so I'm proud of the run that we have.
Yeah, I'll give you this. He has certainly been somewhat successful there and has made the program relevant in football at a place that all they care about is basketball. And that's all they'll ever care about is basketball. I mean, at UK, they just don't care about football. That's just it. And he's made them matter at the very least. And, they've had success at some level. He's still not a winning coach. As a head coach, he's got a losing record. That's just all there is to it.
Yep, it is at the end of the day. All right, they have a low win total as well because I think they were picked to be one of the bottom teams, 4.5 for Kentucky this year. God bless and good luck to Mark Stoops. I want to play you this Drinkwitz. He's, of course, the head coach of Missouri. This guy does have a little bit of a personality, but he's also a little out there as well. A lot of people have ideas, Scotty, for a new college football playoff format. I don't know if you need a pen and a paper or you need to try to keep up here. But listen to this guy start to rattle off how many teams he thinks should make it.
my math could be wrong here, but if we did the 12, okay, and you had 4 automatic qualifiers. Everybody thinks that's limiting. It's not limiting if you think about it from, you take those 4 automatic qualifiers and you divide that up into 8 opportunities of 8 play-in games. So now you're taking the SEC's playing in for 8, you're taking the Big Ten's playing in for 8. Since we've expanded the bubble to 16, give 3 to the 3 to the Big 12, 3 to the ACC, 1. Now you've got 30 teams. 30 teams. Now we're talking about an opportunity for 30 teams, 30 fan bases to be excited and engaged in giving revenue. Got 30 teams with players who have access to compete for a championship. And so for me, I think that makes a lot more sense. Again, when you're talking about the NFL playoff system, not only is it 14 teams, but you only have to be the best out of your 4-team division. So you got to compete against 4 teams in order to make the playoffs. Again, when you're at the University of Missouri, if you say, hey, you just have to finish in the top 8 to have a chance to play in the playoffs, that's a win every day.
Listen, he's tripping. He's absolutely tripping. If he thinks that they're going to have 30 teams in that playoff, that's not happening. So right now, they're going to expand it. I think it's going to go to, a maximum of 16.
Right, and that's only if the Big Ten and the SEC get on the same page, because the problem with the two of them is the Big Ten wants 4 automatic bids, unless the SEC goes to 9 conference games. If they up their 9 conference games, they'll back off the automatic bids. So, those two are butting heads a little bit right now, and we know that those two have all the power in the situation because they have the teams that win every year. They have all the teams that win the national championship.
They're not going to agree on that. That's like divorce court. The husband and wife aren't going to agree on anything. So the Big Ten and the SEC are the 2 stuck-up conferences, and they're not going to agree on whether the sun's out or not.
No, that's probably not going to happen. All right, I've got maybe one other. Yeah, we'll give you Elko when we come back. And then I got a great NFL story for you about this NFLPA executive director who resigned yesterday. He's having some day.
I say, you crank that Soldier Boy, right? You Darvish back on the mound. Haven't seen this guy in a minute right now. Yeah, man, crank it, man. Get it going up. Hit the high. Yeah, let's go. Crank that Soldier Boy up here. Yep. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. That was big back then. Where were you? Senior high school? Or maybe even in grade school then?
Bar mitzvah slate. In the bar mitzvah slate each and every weekend, the young Benny Steve was out there hitting.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So they practice in a public park? And Farrell and Lodge said, no, they have a little facility, but it's open to the public. No, it's a public park. Like, it basically, there's like kids playing basketball, like... Yeah, no, it's bad. I looked, I'm like, dear God, like, I thought, I'm like, man, I bet a lot of money on these guys. I can't believe this is where they practice, like, yeah.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Scrounge out a couple of quarters from under the couch to go trade for somebody who actually makes some money. I don't think that he would actually do that. That's not in Hal's style the last couple of years, especially in season. I saw they signed that Heimer Candelario, who the Reds released. That's more their style, going the discount aisle as opposed to trading for someone who's actually having a huge year like Suarez.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I would be looking to get him in dynasty or keeper leagues. If I'm out of a league and I'm looking to rebuild for the next years ahead, that's where I'm looking. Yuri Perez is a special young pitcher that we're going to be talking about in that Paul Skeens, in that Tariq Skubal, in that grouping of guys. I think he can be that good. He's only 22 years old. He's the boy. So you're getting a situation here where Yuri Perez eventually is going to grow into that man of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.